You're listening to the Holistic Spaces podcast brought to you by Mindful Design Feng Shui School, episode 215, Favorite Feng Shui Spring Cleaning Rituals. Welcome to episode 215 of the Holistic Spaces podcast, where we hope to inspire, educate, and empower you to create your own holistic spaces that nurture and resonate with you. Angie Cho and Laura Morris are the founders of the Mindful Design Feng Shui School. We teach Feng Shui online at mindfuldesignschool.com. Be sure to check out our website. We have a mailing list with special opportunities and content and events only for our newsletter subscribers. We have something coming up very soon as well, so we hope you'll join our mailing list. We have a free Feng Shui Basics program. So go to mindfuldesignschool.com or scroll down to the show notes and sign up for our mailing list. So we're really excited to have 3 of our graduates with us this time.
Yes, we did this a few weeks ago with another group of grads, and we're calling it a podcast panel. And we invite 3 of our program grads. And the 3 that are here today are all certified Feng Shui consultants from our program, the Mindful Design Feng Shui School program. And we welcome you all. And we're so happy to have you here. I will introduce each of them, and then we're going to, the topic for today, which I'm going to get into in a second, is about springtime, this time of year. So we asked our grads to come with some thoughts. And so we're going to have a little discussion around that. And the 3 grads that are here are Mary Ladybird, and you can find her at Wonderspace. So her handle is Wonderspace Feng Shui. Susan Day, and you can find Susan at Susan's Aligned Life. And then Lalita Vayavananda, and you can find her at Lalavananda, Lalalavavananda. And just, I like to give like a frame of where you guys are all from. So Mary, where can we find you? Where are you located? Where are you joining us from?
I am near Worcester, Massachusetts, just outside Boston.
Excellent. And Susan, where are you joining us from?
I'm in Newfoundland in Canada.
Excellent. And Lalita, where are you joining us from?
I'm joining in from Rockville, Maryland.
Okay. Great. So East Coasty. And Maritime-y. Good. Okay. So as I mentioned, spring is coming. March 20th marks the beginning of spring, the spring equinox. And Angie and I, each year when we're doing our podcasts, our blogs, basically everything, we theme things to different times of the year. You probably just, last week heard our chi forecast. So it is a time when, you want to clean your home, you want to cleanse your spirit, you want to really start to embrace and celebrate sunnier days that are coming, planting seeds, both, literally and energetically. And it's about new beginnings. So, I think we're all hardwired as humans to just have this need to prepare for these days as they get like longer and warmer and brighter. So cleaning, purging. And so what we thought, and then doing energetic work, obviously, and Feng Shui inspired practices and Feng Shui practices, we thought to celebrate it, the panel will talk about their own stories, their own practices, Feng Shui or Feng Shui inspired spring cleaning rituals. And as we did last time when we did a panel, Angie will be asking them this pretty much the same question, and then they're going to share their thoughts and their personal stories with us.
So are we ready to get started?
Sure are.
Okay. All right. We're going to start with Mary. So hi, Mary. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
It's so nice to see you here. So can you please share with us, Mary, and share with the listeners your favorite Feng Shui inspired ritual that you do to embrace the new energy of spring?
So, spring for me is really about renewal. And when I think about renewal, I think about rebirth. And so, I really want to embrace that going from winter of being like the phoenix ashes into new growth of spring. And I like to begin by sitting in the center of my home and meditating there and connecting with the home spirit and giving it gratitude for thanking it for keeping me safe all winter and keeping me warm and just like listening to what it has to say. And then sometimes I even like to imagine in that meditative space vines coming in and growing up my walls, just kind of in a sense lifting the chi in the home. And after I do that, I can sometimes I also imagine it can be like a cocoon and it's just a butterfly opening up its wings. And again, just bring in, it's all about just lifting the chi and raising the vibration. And once I do that, I like to actually start at the front door with some sage or a rattle and try to remove any dense or stuck energy that has settled over the winter. And I can sometimes even use a crystal wand that also makes a very high vibrational noise for sound clearing. And I walk around my home with those instruments, just trying to clear the space and any stuck energy. So I look also at doorways, behind doors, and any little tight corners or spaces just to kind of lift that and shake up the energy. And then also when it's springtime, so I like to open up the doors after I do the ceremony and then just let the breeze of the fresh air move through the home. And it's also like taking a deep breath for yourself. It's like, it's like, you go outside and you're like, you can smell spring in the air and just like breathing that, life force energy in. And then lastly, I like to get a brand new plant. And, you can even put a nice little red ribbon on it and put it in the front steps of the door. And I just thank the guardian or the home spirit for caring and protecting me through the winter. And that's my ritual.
I like it. So it's kind of a mix of both recognizing that clearing your home, which is of course why we're talking and we're Feng Shui practitioners, so this is what we do, but clearing your home, not only physical cleaning, but really the energetic cleaning of it. And that some listeners might be like, yeah, of course, I get that. But for some people, it's a really new concept. So, and this is the things that you had mentioned really do speak to a celebration, which I thought was really cool. And I like the gratitude part, by the way. And also the importance of starting in the center as a Feng Shui practitioner. I really liked how you did that. We talk about the center in this podcast a lot, about being a place to go to because it reverberates through the whole house, right?
Yes.
So I think you had some really good takeaways. And I like, if someone didn't have, let's say, a high vibration crystal or something, could they use bells? Could they just use their voice? Like, if you said, okay, I don't have like something really simple, what would you say would be good?
I would say throw on your favorite music, anything that energizes you. And you can even use your hands and just go and clap in those corners. And you can even make it like a dance and a celebration of bringing in this new renewal and fresh energy to the space.
Yeah, it really is a time of celebration for so many cultures to, again, just shake off winter, right? And I like to keep it simple, and I really like the imagery. By the way, I loved your visualization of the vines, and anyone can do that. And we were going to continue to talk about it, and I'm sure some of the other panelists have some thoughts on what that means, right? From a Feng Shui standpoint, your visualization of the vines. But thank you. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Mary.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. And next we have up Susan. So Susan, it's nice to see you.
Thank you for inviting me here.
So, Susan, can you please share with us and the listeners your favorite Feng Shui inspired ritual that you do to embrace the new energy of spring?
Sure, I'd love to. It's a big time of celebration for me as well because my birthday is actually on March to the 20th. So I always really enjoy the beginning of spring. And something I love to do is spend a lot of time outside, and I'm lucky to live very close to nature in its kind of purest form. And I love bringing nature inside. I love doing that all seasons, but especially in the springtime, one of the things I do is collect some branches or boughs of some trees or shrubs around and bring them inside and put them in some water, and they'll bloom, and it's a nice boost of energy to see those branches come to life. So some of the branches that I'd like to collect are pussy willows. They're always a really great one. And if you live anywhere where they have a what's called a forsythia tree, I don't they're pretty common, I think, in all our areas. They're yellow. They have yellow buds on them. And if you bring them inside before they bud, when they're just the little green buds or even just brown branches, stick them in water for a few days, and you have all of a sudden a vase of beautiful yellow flowers. You can also do that with dogwood. So any kind of branch that, if you look out in nature, is starting to bud, if you pick a few branches and bring it inside, it speeds up that process, and it's a really nice energy boost, inviting that wood element in and some color into your home in the springtime of year. If you can't get out in nature, I always love to buy tulips or daffodils, or any sort of spring bloom is really nice to bring into the home.
First of all, happy birthday, Susan.
Thank you.
Happy birthday on the spring equinox, and fellow Canadian. Angie, it's like always rolls her eyes whenever I have to mention the Canadian thing. Yeah. So, okay, I really love those suggestions. A, they're simple, and B, the interaction with nature is really great. And as you mentioned, you have the luxury of being able to walk out in amongst nature. And for you, when you do walk out what do you think the benefits of actually getting out into nature, if you can? What does that give you?
It helps me to really tune in to what's happening in the bigger picture of the world. And, I love to pay attention to what's happening in nature all seasons.
Mm-hmm.
It helps me feel a little more at ease with my own life. I get to notice all the 5 elements, which is a big part of the Feng Shui practice, and then seeing the balance of yin and yang as well. And so in the springtime, particularly, I love to see, after a very quiet, dormant winter out in nature, the little buds you start to see more green, of course, and even more like red and more color in general. You start to see more birds and animals, and it's just really nice to see that awakening that's
mm-hmm.
happening out in nature, and starting to embrace a little more of the yang energy. Because right now, in winter, we were just moving now out of yin season, and
mm-hmm.
it's really nice to feel that yang energy and give us that boost. It's happening in nature, so it's going to happen. It's happening within us as well.
Yeah, because we're connected. We're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to walk out in the woods, is a way, a lot of people call it forest bathing or different, but simply it's just really connecting with the energy and the cycles of nature. And you mentioned, and I'll circle back because Mary also talked about it. So when just for our listeners, so when Mary is visualizing the ivy, and when Susan is bringing in the cuttings that continue to grow and leaf, they are both talking about this power of wood chi and wood energy, which is this season, which is the season of springtime. It's the new beginnings, and it's the starting. And so, even bringing those sprigs in, or the visualization, if you can't, is really powerful, a way to bring in that verdant. So when you think of the vernal equinox, it's literally verdant, green, right? This is growth. It's really a powerful way to connect with that energy. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Susan. And now we have Lalita. So, Lalita, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Well, I'm really happy to see your face, and I'm looking forward to you sharing with us and our listeners what your favorite Feng Shui inspired ritual is that you do to embrace the new energy of spring.
So just coming from a more energetic background, I'm a one of my background experiences is as a yoga teacher, and the style that I have been teaching the longest, actually, when I first started teaching, is the style of Yin Yoga. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Yin Yoga, it's more of a slower paced practice. It's more of a meditative type practice, where if you're in a class, you might just go through only 6 to 8 poses. And we're holding the poses for a period of time. The main difference is you're getting into the connective tissues and the joints, the fascia, the ligaments, as opposed to being in the muscular system, in which a lot of the yang practices focus on. In terms of Yin Yoga, it does draw from principles of traditional Chinese medicine. So there is a focus on the 5 elements within Yin Yoga, and as we're talking about wood energy for the spring, there are certain poses that I like to focus on when it comes to that. And the 2 organs that are associated with the wood chi would be the liver and the gallbladder. So in terms of doing yin yoga, as I mentioned, it's based on the traditional Chinese medicine with the belief of regulating the chi through our meridians, right? Which is the energetic points that run through the body. So in order to really get into the poses that might hit the gallbladder and the liver, as far as the liver, we would want to focus on the internal seam of the legs, which is the meridian that goes up into that organ. And some poses that might be beneficial for that is forward fold, frog pose, squatting, or dragonfly. And then in terms of the gallbladder, that meridian goes up on the outside of the legs. And some poses that can focus on those is the shoelace pose or the deer pose. So that's just more of the physicality of it, as Susan mentioned, that this change is happening within us as well. So really targeting those points. And another thing that I like to do is just cleansing in general for the new season, and cleansing the liver in particular, since that's the organ we were just referring to, and activating that wood chi within us. Since the wood is, the spring is focused on moving forward and following through with plans and taking action.
Thank you, Lalita. Frog pose has to be one of the most, that pose is very intense.
Yes,
it is
very.
one, because you're supposed to hold it typically for, quite a while, right? So it's pretty intense. And it's interesting, those poses really challenge your patience and your being able to sit with certain things. And it's funny because wood chi is very much like do, go, activate. Right. And so it's actually probably a really good thing to adopt a yin practice in these times, when, especially if you are a very woody person, right? And you're like all you ever do is the yang yoga, practices. And maybe you're a more woody person, to sort of practice these more yin, this yin energy yoga is probably much better to balance out as well. So, but that was really interesting. Thank you. And I'm glad you touched on the organs, because it is important, because again, these practices are interconnected. Yes, all 3 of you have studied Feng Shui, but you also, I think what's come through is that you all have your own prior modalities or all other modalities or practices that you do, from, energetic practice and space clearing that, Mary was talking about. Susan is, her tapping into all of these 5 element, outdoor living so close to nature and really seeing and understanding. And Lalita, touching on, the body, the energetic body, I think has been really powerful. So we can see how spring cleaning is a lot more than just sweeping, although sweeping is really important. Okay, I am going to ask this last question. I wasn't sure if I was going to, and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to ask you each very quickly, so to share, do you personally have an intention? It doesn't have to be a groundbreaking, earth-shattering intention. What is something you're working on right now or mindful of right now with this new energy coming in? And I'll start with Mary.
Yeah, so I've been really thinking about diet. And, in the winter, I like the soups, I like the carbs and the desserts. And when spring comes, I'm like, oh, my body's ready to lighten up. It wants the green leaves. So I like to lighten up my body as well. But a theme or an intention that's really like processing right now is just coming to a state of almost like emptiness and creating that fertile soil for the new beginnings. So I have to like remove out things, even if it's in my mind or my thoughts or my home. And that way I can allow in something new.
Very nice. Nicely said. Susan, can you share with us an intention, thought, theme, whatever comes to mind?
Sure. As we move towards the spring, I think what I really like to focus on is the return of the light and the return of the yang energy. Where I live, it is quite dark and cold in the winter. So I'm really looking forward to the return of some more of that yang energy and really embracing that, and with the new beginnings and starting some things that I've kind of been, thinking of in my head and writing about, but actually starting to do more, even though I already do a lot, doing more with intention and purpose and ease.
And the energy's,
the energy,
and the energy's with you right now. So it's kind of hard to force through that in the winter months. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Lalita?
As you mentioned, Laura, like having that balance of the yin and the yang, and I'm just really using this yin time and yin energy coming out of the winter to fuel the yang and my yang practice, and more activity that will be going on. So my intention will be to move forward and follow through in terms of my plans for my personal and business ventures.
It's a good time of year to do that. Plant seeds, let them and help those seeds grow. Yeah. Thank you all. That was great. Thank you for sharing. Angie, do you have any closing thoughts or?
No, but could you do a top line review of the each thing?
Each thing? What each person talked about?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. No, that's okay. Let's see how quick my brain is working now. I'm just teasing. Okay, so thank you, Mary, for walking us through a very simple but beautifully visual. I like that way you visualized your clearing. And I think my takeaway was, and I'm hoping that it was for listeners as well, is that you can do it through visualization by sitting in the center of your home, and again visualizing that wood chi and using vibration to clear. And you gave some great suggestions of using your voice or a crystal. Susan, who lives in a beautiful part of the world that not many people are fortunate to visit, and it is on my list, Newfoundland, which is absolutely gorgeous. It is like you're on a different planet sometimes. It's so amazing. And for her to be able to talk to us about how she connects with nature, because she is really close to the rocks, the water, the wood, all of it. So I think it was really great to hear her perspective. And Lalita, who walked us through her yogic practice and Chinese medicine, connecting it to the physical body, her energetic practice that that connects with the physical body because they are so, well, it's the yin and the yang, right, of the physical body. And talking about how she uses her yogic practice to open up to this new wood energy. Did I do a good job?
Yes, everyone's
I feel like I was getting quizzed. Were you listening?
Well, that's what you get for asking me. But it's always such a pleasure to see our graduates. Be sure to check out Mary Ladybird, Susan Day, and Lalita Vananda, right? Mm-hmm. And if you go to the show notes, we'll have a link to their Instagram pages as well. So thank you all for joining us. And thank you also, listeners, for listening to the Holistic Spaces podcast. You can tune in every week for a new podcast episode. And if you like our podcast in this episode, please share it with others. If you didn't know, Laura and I teach a Feng Shui certification program. That's where we met these lovely, beautiful women that have joined us today. And I'm so proud of each of them. And I'm so grateful to have met them and that they've become a part of our lives. So be sure to check them out and also check out our certification and mini courses. That's a really great way to support the podcast. If you'd like to explore what we do more, visit us at mindfuldesignschool.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.